In winter, the Bering Strait freezes into a solid sheet of ice, leaving two rocky islands marooned. They sit just 2.4 miles apart. These are the Diomede Islands, Big Diomede on the left, belonging to Russia, and Little Diomede on the right, part of the United States. The international dateline runs directly through the center of that channel, bisecting the 2.4-mile gap. Because Russia and the US set distinct time zones, Big Diomede operates on Kamchatka time, UTC plus 12, while Little Diomede runs on Alaska Standard Time, UTC minus 9. That creates a 21-hour difference between two landmasses clearly visible from each other's shores. If you stand on the shores of Little Diomede at noon on a Saturday and look across the water, you are staring at a piece of land where it is already 9 in the morning on Sunday. You are looking 21 hours into the future. When the ocean freezes over, an ice bridge forms between the two shorelines. Theoretically, you could start walking from the American side at 9 in the morning on a Friday, trek for an hour, and arrive on Russian soil at 10 in the morning on the previous Thursday. However, crossing this frozen corridor is strictly illegal. Without visas or official checkpoints, anyone who sets foot on the ice to walk between these islands is violating an international boundary guarded by two global powers. Thousands of years ago, the concepts of yesterday and tomorrow held no weight here. The indigenous Inupiat people lived as one community, routinely crossing the water to hunt marine mammals, trade resources, and intermarry. This unity began to dissolve in 1867, when the Russian Empire sold Alaska to the United States for $7.2 million. Diplomats used the Diomede Islands as reference points to draw an equidistant boundary. They formally divided the landmasses, officially handing the Big Island to Russia and the little one to America. This financial transaction created an invisible line on a map, but for decades, the physical reality of the ecosystem and the daily lives of the Inupiat remained largely intact. It took global warfare to finally pull them apart. In 1948, the onset of the Cold War weaponized this geography, as the Soviet Union transformed Big Diomede into a fortified military base to monitor activities in the Bering Strait. To secure the island, the Soviet government forcibly relocated the entire native population of Big Diomede, exiling them to mainland Siberia. Families on Little Diomede were permanently severed from their relatives. They could still see their ancestral home across the water, but they were strictly forbidden to cross or communicate. This was the birth of the Ice Curtain. Political ideology had achieved what nature never did, creating an impenetrable void in the middle of a seamlessly connected world. A brief geopolitical thaw arrived in 1987 when American swimmer Lynn Cox crossed the freezing waters from Little to Big Diomede. Her 2-hour swim was a rare diplomatic gesture that gained praise from both Washington and Moscow. In 1988, a friendship flight allowed Inupiat elders to briefly reunite with family members they hadn't seen in 4 decades. But despite those historical gestures, the border has snapped shut again and remains highly restricted. Big Diomede is now entirely devoid of civilians. It operates strictly as a closed Russian military outpost and weather station. Little Diomede still hosts a tiny, isolated U.S. community. In this remote landscape, they effectively serve as geopolitical sentinels at the absolute edge of the American border. Yet every winter, the temperatures plummet and the Bering Strait freezes over. Nature continues to build a seamless ice bridge between the two islands. If the Earth physically paves over the gap between yesterday and tomorrow every single year, are we kept apart by the ice or just by the invisible lines we refuse to undraw?